Introducing the African Diaspora News Channel app, your gateway to stories that's overlooked by the corporate mainstream media.
And we serve as the voice to the Choctaw Black community.
Again, we got Dr. Candace Matthews.
A lot of these documents, looking at.
We are committed to informing and educating through the power of media.
This country is supposed to be about the land of the free for all. It has not been free for Black people, and we are tired.
With our platform, we're helping to end injustice by exposing it.
Join us in standing for excellence in journalism and serving our community. Download the African Diaspora News app today.
Peace, family. My name is Vicky Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wanted to take us back a little bit in history. Some of you all have probably seen commentary that I've done here a few times about the WKK, which is literally a representative of women, Ku Klux Klan. They were actually considered to be the most effective members of this hate group back in the day. And so many of us forget about that. I've also referred to a book of the past few years about They Were Her Property, a book that was written by a Black professor that exposes the true hand that Caucasian women played in the undoing and the oppression of our people. Too often they get passed by being feminine and demure and sweet and soft, and these were sometimes the most detrimental tools of anti-Black oppression. How many of you all are familiar with the great legendary Dr. Claude Anderson? He is an octogenarian that is still alive today in these United States of America and is responsible for educating our people in the economics and the history and our life here in the United States and what we're due economically, socially, politically, and otherwise. Our dear brother was handpicked by former President Jimmy Carter to work in his government. He ran major campaigns. He's a world leader. He's educated. He ran education department in Florida. He worked with a very well-known anti-Black Strom Thurmond. If you research him, you'll find out who he is. He was able to get some positive legislation through just up from the civil rights movement. Our brother is a legend among us. Well, he has written many books, one in which is called A Black History Reader. On page 37, 38, and 39, he discusses the history of what's known as meritorious manumission. Now, sometimes when you all hear me talk, you'll hear me talking about Black folks or Black looking people that sell out the masses of Black folks for personal gain, right? Sometimes you all laugh at that, but it's a real reality. On page 37 in particular, where it's entitled Question 12, what was meritorious manumission and does it apply to Blacks? I want you to listen to a little bit of history. This is not just something we're making up. And I want you to pay attention to how this energy is still at play in American politics today. Our brother explains to us the meritorious manumission, listen, was a legal act of freeing a slave for good deeds as defined by the national public policy. During slavery, a slaveholder could grant freedom to a slave who distinguished himself by saving the life of a white person, inventing or designing something that enriched a white person, or snitched on other members of his race, especially those Blacks who were resisting and contemplating a revolt. This was public policy in the United States. Meritorious manumission became public policy in the early 1700s and was introduced into the Virginia legislature as law in 1710. Incorporated into every aspect of the slavery system, it remained an active carrot and incentive through the social integration process. It's still an operating principle at this present time. My brother is certainly telling the truth. Now, I want you to listen to this story that he highlights of one particular man that specifically benefited from meritorious manumission. He literally received an award for that. Now, watch this. It says further on down on page 38, it says that another notable example of a Black person seeking meritorious manumission occurred on the eve of the Civil War. In 1859, abolitionist John Brown and his raiding party traveled to Harper's Ferry, Virginia, to capture weapons from a U.S. Marine Corps armory to use to free Black slaves. Y'all listen. When John Brown and his party entered the town, a Black man who had already won meritorious manumission was sitting on the porch of the railroad station and recognized Brown and his party. The Black man, Hayward Shepherd is his name, y'all, ran to alert the town that Brown was in town to free the slaves. Brown's raiders shot Shepherd down in the street. Then that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not the one that's going to be shedding no tear. He was free to sit on the porch that evening because he was no longer a slave. Y'all ready for this? This is what I want you to pay attention to. In gratitude for Hayward Shepherd's outstanding behavior of placing white society's political economic interests above the freedom and needs of members of his own race, the town erected a monument honoring him. The Hayward Shepherd statue was stored beside the city's major museum and covered with a wooden box. This is what white folks will reward you for. Will erect a monument for you, but not just any kind of white folks. Watch this. Guess who one of the co-sponsors were? Listen, and I'm quoting. This is what's inscribed on this monument. On the night of October 16th, I'm quoting, Hayward Shepherd, an industrious, respected colored freeman, was mortally wounded by John Brown raiders in pursuance of his duty as an employee of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Company. He became the first victim of this attempted insurrection. This boulder is erected by the United Daughters of the Confederacy and the Sons of the Confederate Veterans as a memorial to Hayward Shepherd, exemplifying the character and faithfulness of thousands of Negroes who, under many temptations throughout the subsequent years of war, so conducted themselves that no stain was left upon a record, which is a peculiar heritage of the American people and an everlasting tribute to the best in both races. What? I want to bring this to your attention because one of the major co-sponsors of this was the United Daughters of the Confederacy. Now, for those of you that don't know about the history of this, which is a separate group from the white supremacist WKKK members, which stands for Women Ku Klux Klan. Watch this. The United Daughters of the Confederacy, also known as UDC, is an American neo-Confederate hereditary association. Hereditary, why? For female descendants of Confederate Civil War soldiers engaging in the commemoration of these ancestors, the funding of monuments to them, and the promotion of the pseudo-historical lost cause ideology and corresponding white supremacy. Now they're trying to level up and clear up their names a little bit because they talking about they concerned how their name was being used. But watch this. Established in Nashville, Tennessee in 1894, the group venerated the Ku Klux Klan during the Jim Crow era. And in 1926, a local chapter funded the construction of a monument to the Klan. Now, let me tell y'all something. That's just among many of the other terrible and horrific history that these women have. I've got to stop now, family, but I wanted to point that out to let you all know that those same individuals are the ones that are rewarding Black-looking people today. Be sure, beloved, to register for my upcoming October 27th webinar with Brother Wizard Islam. Go to my website to learn all about it. You don't want to miss it. We're going to tell you about the hidden hand running the government. Go to VickiPlanet.com. That's my website, VICKIPlanet.com. I can't wait to see you again.